All right, so that gets me to my talk. I'm going to tell you a little bit about where we came from, where we are, and where we're going, and I'm going to ask you for some help. Okay, so it was 2016, 2017. We had a little meetup going in the DC area, and I was faced with an integrity challenge. And to make a long story short, I was traveling to places in China, and I was uncovering some corruption that might shock you. And as I started to not be okay with it, things got harder and harder and more difficult, to the point that at one point I didn't know if I was going to get out of the country alive. And if we had enough time for beers and over drinks, I'll tell you the gory details. Now I can laugh about it, but back then it was challenging. Anyway, one time I was held for 3 days in conditions that were a little less than 5-star, if you can use your imagination. Anyway, when I came back here and reported it to the authorities here, right, that were connected, the result was I lost my entire business. So I found myself in my late 50s with no career, right? We put some kids through school. They essentially had no money, but I had this little meetup, right? That we had about 40 people meeting in a restaurant. And I said, well, I got to make this thing work. So from that point forward, my wife and I worked close to 6 a.m. till 2 a.m. Monday through Saturday to get GBA off the ground. And today we have about 120 chapters around the world. We've got 50 working groups. I'll tell you a little bit about it, but I'll tell you what drove me at the time. There are lots of meetups, right? And what I found was that a lot of people were excited about this technology, but there were no projects, right? And I knew that this thing was going to be big in government, right? But the only folks that were doing anything was IBM and Deloitte. They were pretty much in Wall Street and Silicon Valley. There was no way for a guy with no money. I didn't know anything, didn't have any relationships. I didn't know what to do. But I knew this was going to be big. So I said, if I can just bring people together, if I can bring people in government that have requirements, and I can bring people in the private sector that have solutions, if I can bring them together, they're smart enough to figure it out, and maybe I can just help. So we developed sort of the mantra of connect, communicate, and collaborate. And so I'll share a little bit with you about how that looks today. So if you go to the GBAglobal.org website, GBA has members today in about 500 different government organizations, right? If you just kind of look at the screen, you can kind of get a sense. And these are government organizations at the local, state, national, and international level. They started here in Washington. They've gone as far as we got a chapter in Moscow. We got people that work for the city of Moscow. We've got people in Beijing, all through Africa, India. We don't have any in Antarctica, but we are talking about putting a node in outer space. So that's our space working group is looking at. But if you think about this, these are not organizations that are part of GBA. These are organizations where GBA members work. Because what we want to do is create a fabric of relationships, right? We want to create a fabric of relationships, of people, and of technology. We're kind of behind the curve on our technology piece. We had launched a project. It had stalled. We're going to build that. We're going to come back to that. That's called the GBBP, the Government Blockchain Business Platform. And the goal of that project is to create interconnected blockchains that essentially are serving government public functions, right? And have them interconnect so that if you're an 8A and you're applying for 8A status, you don't have to go to 12 different government agencies and fill out the same information, right? There's so many things we can do to streamline government by just having decent interoperability. So what happens is anybody in government joins GBA for free, right? And then we invite them to working groups. And what happens in the working groups is folks in the public, they come and they say, here are the solutions, here are the problems we're trying to solve. And the people in the private sector say, here's our solutions, here's our white papers, here's our demos. And we bring them together so that they can solve it outside of the typical RFP process, which generally has a lot of small business and more innovative folks locked out, right? We've done that. And let me just tell you about some of the projects. One of the projects that we have is the very first blockchain credit union in the world. Why is this important? If you organize as a credit union, you are excluded from SEC jurisdiction. That always gets a couple heads to turn, right? Because if you look at the credit union legislation, it says that a credit union is, it has a field of membership, so it's permissioned. It is a nonprofit, so it's decentralized. And it has to make decisions via a survey of its members. We call that consensus. So if you read the NCUA legislation, you would think that you're reading a blockchain white paper. And so when we went to the NCUA and talked about this, they said this completely changes everything. And we're working with them. In fact, you'll hear from Kyle Hopman, the vice chair of the NCUA. The project that we have hits two of his three top priorities. And we're literally creating a template for other blockchain projects to be able to organize as credit unions so that they still have to do AML, KYC. You can't be fraudulent or corrupt. But it takes you outside of that jurisdiction, and it opens so many doors. That's one of the projects. The other project we're doing, and I'm going to try to be quick because I know we're short on time, is the blockchain maturity model. Let me explain about this. There's lots of you in the room that have very innovative blockchain solutions. The problem with getting that into an enterprise or a government is that most of the acquisition officials don't have the knowledge or the framework to be able to assess a good one from a bad one. Are there any bad ones out there? Any hype blockchains? Yeah. So because they don't do that, guess what? They're always going to pick IBM or Deloitte or somebody that's got a trust. And what are they going to do? They're going to sell them their DLT and say, hey, this is blockchain, right? So we've created this framework, and what this framework, we've worked on this for 2 years now. And what this framework does is it evaluates a blockchain along 11 different areas, right? And in those 11 areas that you can see on the screen, we break it down into 5 levels. So you can use this model to see if is a solution ready for research and development funding, right? Is it ready to be deployed as a proof of concept? Is it ready to go into a production environment? Is it ready to go into an enterprise or a global rollout? And not only does it give the acquisition officials a way to be able to assess the solution, it gives solution providers a roadmap on how to mature their solution so their solution can be trusted by enterprise. And this all fits into the innovation showcase that we're going to do later, part of what GBA, so GBA wants to help folks in the blockchain community build blockchain solutions, have good ones, and being able to sell and propagate those to people in government who have real needs but don't know what this solution can do. And when we bring things from the voting industry, from the healthcare industry, from the supply, you'll hear about all of those different things and what people are actually doing and how we're connecting those dots. But there's more. Oh, and incidentally, on Friday, in addition to this, we've built a full assessment model, right, so that people can get certified. We're actually beginning to train assessors. Our very first lead assessor is the CIO of the United Nations pension benefit blockchain, right? So we've got phenomenal people working on this, and I wish I had more time to tell you about this project. In addition to that, we've got the blockchain maturity profile. So our tax working group actually put this together. This is a tool set to help public policymakers understand the speed, trajectory, and velocity of blockchain, of cryptocurrency adoption and the impact it has on government. So they got together and they put together this 138-page report. I wish I could, the executive summary is 12 pages. It was put together by the finance minister of Croatia, data scientists in Germany and Australia. In fact, Angelica here has been involved in that process, worked a long time. We use a goal question metric methodology, which says, what are the public policy goals? What are the questions we have to ask to address those goals? And what are the metrics we need to capture in order to answer those questions? And so, as you can see, it's a very heavy data-driven report. We got data from Block Explorer's financial reporting systems. Phenomenal piece of work. And so this working group then had an opportunity to go brief legislators, administrators, people all over the world, radio stations, podcasts, media. So part of what we want to do is help educate the public sector, but create opportunities for GBA members to promote what they're doing. We've got a YouTube channel. Incredible people on the YouTube channel. Jim Moran, He's a former chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, which is essentially they spend all the government's money. This guy right here, Daryl, are you in the room? Daryl Hubbard, really big in the central bank digital currency space. But I got to tell you, my favorite guy up here is a guy by the name of Dr. Bob Brown. I wish I could tell you about Dr. Bob Brown. I don't have time. Ask me about him if you see me in the hallway. We do recurring events. So this is an opportunity where we get GBA members to engage with people in government and the public sector on a whole wider range of issues. And then that brings me to this conference. So everything we do is designed to help people in this community connect with government, help people in the government understand the technology and grow it. So we actually are here to support you, right? You know, people always come to me and say, hey, do this for GBA, do this for GBA. No, that's not why we're here. Listen, I'm not very good at it, right? But we are pretty good at trying to support others. It's just, but it puts us in a bind. And let me explain the bind. And that bind is, you know, we've always been free for the public servant. And our goal and our hope was that the private sector would fund it, would help take care of it. And we've built an incredible engine. We just don't have a whole lot of gas. All of this stuff is put together on volunteer efforts. And so I'm going to make an appeal to you to do two things. One, join us. We are a group of people, and our goal is to impact the world in a very positive way. Look, if you're a creep, right, or don't have ethics, don't join us, right? We've got a really strong ethics statement. But if you are somebody that really wants to make a positive impact in the world, we need your help. We need your time, we need your leadership, and we need your money. Right? This event, for example, we were probably a little bit ambitious, but we were way out over our skis. And at 6 p.m. last night, I was told that if I didn't come up with $50,000, that the doors wouldn't open this morning. Right? A little stressful at my house. Right? We're still not out of the woods. Right? I told everybody the doors would open, we would find a solution. Well, we've got another deadline today of 3 p.m. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is. It's a big number. But if everybody can do a little, they can do a lot, whatever, we will overcome that. Right? We will overcome it, regardless of what any individual in here does. We will find a solution. But we really need your help. And so if you want to be part of this, then I would say two things. One, come let me know if you can do anything. We can send you a link to help out. And then we want to invite you, for those of you that want to be part of helping us pouring gas into this engine, then we want to invite you to a leadership that we're going to do this evening to really talk about where we go in the future, right? But we need people with gas to be able to help us, right? And so I'll leave it there. And I'm sorry I went over, but I had to kind of get through this piece. It was critical to the whole success of the event. So with that, I will leave you. Thank you very much. Rob, the floor. Oh. Bryant, the floor is yours.